Hello folks, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In this video, we will be discussing a current affair topic presented to you by your faculty Sushma KP. So what is the topic that we will be discussing today? India's Afghan policy and how it will impact Pakistan's security challenges for New Delhi. In this video, we will be discussing as to why is it in news, what is the relevance of it to UPSC, that is your GS paper to IR. Also in this video, one of the most important things that you will be seeing is with ongoing development, how should India react? So we are also trying to address our security concerns. Look at this. India's Pashtun policy should respect historical context to promote Pashtunwali and the traditions of the Pathan people instead of military approach. India should leverage its geopolitical strengths. Okay. As usual, I'll tell it to you like a story, you listen to it like a story. See, while reading for your social reforms, and also once we start with the entry of Gandhi and we see non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, we also come across a person called as Frontier Gandhi, where he is credited for creating something called as red shirts, Kodai Kid Mudgers. So now the story, this keep in the back of the mind, we will speak about the story, then we will come back to that. So what happened is, you're British in the name of creating, see, one of the main reasons for partition in India itself, that is before 1947, the seeds were sowed by your British for creating communal tensions and making them feel like, see, this is true of any condition where any two people of different identity live together, different belief system, there is bound to be differences. Same was with respect to India, also with respect to the religious nature, community, etc. We have seen communal clashes also before British. But if you say the communal clashes intensified in India, it was during the British and it was because of the policies of the British, because of which we ended up having the partition of India into West Pakistan, East Pakistan and India. So the partitions of it, for example, we have Radcliffe line, McMahon line, multiple things are there. Always during the British post 1858 also has considered the Northwest Frontier province as it wanted to create, see, this is a simple logic. Whoever controls the Northwest Frontier controls the security and entry into India. Back then, if you've seen a lot of your invasions, etc., medieval India period, you see from this zone only, right? So what happens is, you're British, especially during your 19th century, it enters into the great game with Russia. Understanding? It enters into the great game with Russia, wherein it wants to create a demarcation of your Northwest Frontier province, that is your present day Afghanistan. So what they did was, in order to make sure they divide the place into themselves. You know, the West has this mentality of neo-imperialism, new age imperialism, where someone else cut territory, they will cut it according to their needs. That's what they did it with your Monroe Doctrine in Latin America, your USA. The same thing they tried to do it with respect to your Africa, where it was cut like a pieces of cake. The same thing was how they tried to do with your Afghanistan or Northwest Frontier province with respect to your Durand line. Now this Durand line was not any boundary partition or anything, but spheres of influence. When I say spheres of influence, it is more like this much. Let's say this is Durand line. This much will be British controlled. This will be, let's say, your USSR or Russia controlled. This was called as your area of spheres. So Durand line was created by your British. Again, here the British civil servant Durand, he was the one who was involved from the British side, and one from Emir from Afghanistan. So they came to this, it was not a boundary line, it was strictly a demarcation of the zones or spheres of influence. When this went on, then what happened? Partition happened, India and Pakistan. When India and Pakistan ka partition happened, the international community started recognizing the boundary of your Pakistan. Meaning what? Afghanistan did not agree to the Durand line. It even told that no, we have direct link to the Indus, that is India. Direct connectivity to India is there for us. We do not agree to this. Why? Because the section of people who are living there are the Pashtuns. It is their culture. If you are going to give away this, then it will always mean like Pakistan is taking control of this area. And Afghanistan presidents have also held the same claim, telling that no, Pashtuns, the people living in this area that we are talking about, should be independent. It does not come under your Pakistan. So what happened here? Pakistan tried to make sure that this Pashtun nationalism concept doesn't come in. So what they tried to do was, again we'll be discussing in detail. The first president of Afghanistan, he tries to have a dialogue with USA in trying to procure arms. All right. Your Pakistan tried to undermine USA and Afghanistan ka relationship in trying to create tribal conflicts in that zone and trying to portray Afghanistan as a terror-bound country, which is where your terrorist camps are all located, and even started that there. Understanding? So then eventually you know how it happened with respect to USA. USA became pro-Pakistan. Now here in India's side, India is observing all this, but it became a mere observer and it started highlighting the cultural aspects of your Pashtun people, but it did not actively interfere. One of the reasons it did not actively interfere is because 1960s period of time now when we are talking, there was a strong influence of your Soviet or Russian influence in this zone. So because of that, India also kept quiet. Now this portion of Afghanistan and your USSR, that is your Russia, are in the close ties. USA is pro-Pakistan. Because of these people's great game, they tried to ruin the peace of a country. They trying to ruin the cultural ties of these people with their land. Eventually, the alliance became more like Pakistan and China. Now to Afghanistan's side aid, your Russia was the one who was supplying arms deal at a great discounts and all. So eventually what happened, especially after 9/11 attacks, none of the presidents have recognized the legitimacy of Durand line, including Ashraf Ghani. Then what happened? Your Pakistan, in an attempt to make sure that they dilute the nationalism of Pashtuns, they brought in Taliban. Okay, to dilute the Pashtun nationalism. Eventually, what happened with now Taliban becoming mainframe control, it is trying to move away from your Rawalpindi. That is from your Pakistan's influence, it is trying to move away. Here, the factors of ISI are also involved. So, what we can expect from your Pakistan's ISI is that so much so, they will go ahead to even replace Taliban with another faction. This is also happening. What India is supposed to do in this is, it can no longer play the role of an observer who is just looking at this. India has to take an active stance in trying to see what the people's demands are. make sure those people become liberated and independent. Understanding? Look at this. Especially one mention that I would like to do here is your Taliban, especially after your Pahalgam terror attack, was very vocal and critical in condemning this. So India has to just move forward from being a observer to active role in trying to help the Pashtunis people. See, India has had, irrespective of what regime it has had, Afghanistan, it has tried to provide humanitarian assistance. So it has to use this leverage and go and do a beyond that. Especially now the times are very trickier with Turkey trying to align with Pakistan, not trying to outright telling that it is on side of Pakistan and supporting Pakistan. So in this point of time, it becomes important for India to reassess its situation. Look at this. The comprehensive geopolitical strategy between India and Pakistan that we are having right now has to be dealt with in a manner where first the Durand line. Durand line, again, like I mentioned, it is not a boundary demarcation, but it is more of the demarcation for the areas or spheres of influence, which has fragmented the Pashtun region for more than 132 years. This Durand line on the eastern side touches and borders China. On the western side, it touches and borders your Iran. The length is, the shared boundary is 2640 kilometers between Afghanistan and your Pakistan. It was established in 1893, signing of Durand Line Agreement between Second Anglo-Afghan War. This is the period of time. It was established between your, that is, the ones who were involved in the making of your Durand line is Mortimer Durand, who was the English civil servant, and Abdur Rahman Khan, who was the Emir of Afghanistan. Okay, so this was nothing but a sphere of influence and not a boundary line, which is why the legitimacy of Durand line is not, they are not recognizing it as a legitimate claim. This, why did this come in? Again, because of your British Russia great game rivalry. That is why they tried to divide it among themselves, the Afghanistan. With the international recognition of Pakistan in 1947, this weakened the Pashtun identity and created a lot of regional instability in the region. First thing is with respect to, if you see, where does the fight go back to? The very first president of Afghanistan, Muhammad Dawood Khan, he was, see, your more of, when you say, the uniting factor of Afghans. Okay, the national agenda has been brought in to support the Pashtun nationalist movements in Pakistan. There was a period of increased tensions because of this in your 1950s and 1960s. The Pashtunian movement, that is Pashtustan movement, continued, wherein they wanted independent state or integration into Afghanistan, the Pashtun state. This struggle was led by your National Awami Party and the Awami National Party. The notable leaders are Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, known as Sarhadi Gandhi or Frontier Gandhi. In 1929, he founded Pudai Khidmatgars, okay, anti-colonial non-violent resistance movement. They were also speaking for your Pashtustanist movement. Now, after the recognition, after the partition, etc., in 1956, US recognized the Durand line, which is what led to your Afghanistan move towards your Moscow. See, USA became pro-Pakistan, that is why it recognized Durand line. No one of Afghanistan recognizes the Durand line, which is what made them side with your Moscow, Russia. Your Afghan lawyer Jigra called for Soviet military support so that they will help in determination of Pashtun's self-determination. In the period of 1960, if you see, your Pakistan and China became coming closer, which was further diluting the Pashtun cause. To deal with this, USSR was supplying arms to your Pashtun. Abdul Ghaffar Khan and Kuday Khidmatkas rejected joining Pakistan in 1947. They wanted an independent Pashtunistan. So much so that Bacha Khan expressed his feelings of betrayal in Gandhi. Just look at these words. You have thrown us to the wolves. Now looking at the situation there, it is time for us to reassess. Did we actually throw them to the wolves? 130 odd years of pain and fight for the motherland. What was India's efforts in this? It was merely moral support we gave. We were more on, see, this is the period of 1960s, which was a difficult period of time for India also. Wherein again we had to heed to USA. USA was completely pro-Pakistan, and then the fear of if allowed in Afghanistan, then your USSR support, and with that your entry of USSR will make Afghanistan into a zone which will have influence of the left. That the right didn't want. So, what did we try to do in trying to support the Pashtunastan movement? We reinforced the Pashto and Balochi broadcast on All India Radio, and that too only focused on cultural and informational content. Little action was taken against the operation that was carried out on them. Finally, India in 1967 period of time, it was helpful with the USA in trying to bring a government in Tibet, but it did not recognize the United Pashtunistan Front, which was established in 1967. India did not recognize this, and moreover, when we tell India didn't recognize it, it did not play any active role in it. Finally, if you see the Pashtunistan movement in 1970s, especially under the leadership of Red Shirts and National Awami Party, the Pakistan thought that I will deal with this Pathan's issue by integrating the tribal leaders into the state. And your northwest frontier province was named as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. In your 1980s, 1990s, Zia Haq and ISI chief Hamid Gul spearheaded Afghan jihad against the Soviet Union so as to portray Afghanistan as a terrorism-rid country. They wanted to create an image where Afghanistan will be a terrorist hub, and establishing over 120 training camps for around 30,000 jihadists over the border alongside your Pakistan. This didn't stop there. Finally, 1992, Pakistan stopped supporting your Mujahideens. It wanted to establish Taliban to dilute the principles of Pashtunwali Gyarat. And 1976, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto proposed releasing National Awami Party leaders if in case the Daud Khan's recognition of the Durand line. They have not recognized the recognition, or that is your affair, Durand line. No Afghan government until now has recognized the Durand line. This issue again resurfaced after your 9/11 attacks, where even at that point of time, President Hamid Karzai or Ashraf Ghani both have refused to recognize the legitimacy of Durand line. One of the unity factors for your Afghan people is Pakistani oppression. Pashtun Tahfuz movement was led by Manzoor Pashtun, who calls for an end of Pakistan's rule in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The factions of Tehrik-e-Taliban are adopting nationalist focus to stay away from this and focus more on the nationalistic elements. Now, what can your ISI do? First thing is, your TTP rejects Durand line and conducts cross-border raids with respect to your Pakistan. It airstriked and found the TTP hideouts and in your Pakitka province in 2024 so as to reduce their claims and their interference. And especially this is very much proven now, especially with Taliban trying to be critical of your Pelgam terror attack and slowly trying to move away from the control of Rawalpindi. What your ISI can do is find out another faction and bring it to replace Taliban itself, because that is what it has been doing from over the course of years. Amidst this that is happening, especially what happened in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor, we know that how USA is still on the side of pro-Pakistan, especially with Turkey aligning with your Pakistan. Taliban trying to move away from Rawalpindi's control and criticizing the Pahalgam terror attack. It is time that India took an active stance in trying to look into the conditions of 60 million Pashtuns and the years that they have been having to undergo and endure so much difficulties. The Pakistan influence has constantly manipulated the Pashtun identity itself. So, what can India do? Reintegrate the northwest frontier province into Afghanistan. The claim that they have been having since so many years, more than 100 odd years. Liberate Baluchistan, reclaim Pakistan occupied Kashmir and Gilgit Baltistan regions, especially in the current political climate. Understanding? With this, we come to the end of the content. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, share it along with your friends. Thank you.